Hello, my name's Ben.
And my name's Josh.
Welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video where in today's video we're going to be going through our teams for game week 4. Let's get straight into Josh's team.
Okay then, so yeah, starting off the season so far with the first opening 3 game weeks, it's not been the best of starts. Obviously, I've not had Mohamed Salah, and if you do have him, you're probably doing better than me. So getting off into the defence, David Raya, pretty happy with him so far. Obviously, 3 game weeks, 2 decent returns, probably overperformance in those games, to be honest. And then obviously coming back down to earth with that Brighton fixture. Probably quite unlucky to not even keep a clean sheet in that game, to be fair. I didn't think Brighton created too many chances, opposed to obviously that open goal tap in for João Pedro. So yeah, happy to keep him even through this tough fixture run. Arsenal set up so well defensively, even against sides like Manchester City. We saw them keep a clean sheet at the Etihad last year. So yeah, for me, he's a good option. In the defence, we've got Leif Davis. Brighton away, again, I don't really expect clean sheets with Leif Davis. I'm just strictly there for attack and returns, and I think that's the way you've got to look at it. If you own someone like him or an Ait Nouri or someone of that ilk, you're not really expecting clean sheets, and if you get a clean sheet, it's a huge bonus. Same could be said with Mazraoui, to be fair, with United's defensive performances as of late. To be honest, I thought they defended quite well against Liverpool, barring just giving the ball away in stupid areas. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't continue against Southampton. Mazraoui for me as well also has had really good attacking threat so far this season and looked quite dangerous going forwards for United. So yeah, for me, him over Dalot 100% if you're considering that sort of option. And then Pedro Porro is going to wrap up the defence with Arsenal at home this week. Against Newcastle, he had the joint most shots in the game week, which is crazy to say. He's obviously going to be operating in the side where Declan Rice would be missing as well, which I think is quite crucial. I'd be tempted, obviously got one free transfer this week, tempted to make a defensive transfer with Lewis Hall on my bench and bring in someone like Wes Fofana, a Konsa, someone like that maybe, but given the fact that Rice is missing, I might just play Pedro Porro because, again, we're here for the attacking threat and not the clean sheets with a Spurs defender. So yeah, what's your thoughts on the defence, Ben? Obviously, not too many clean sheets I'd expect, but maybe some attacking returns.
No, I don't see too many clean sheets at all, unfortunately, from your defence this game week. A lot of an away fixtures, and the home one you've got is a really tough one. So you've got to hope for some attacking returns and some save points here. I don't think you're going to get too many points, but that's the sort of nature of the beast in terms of sort of having a start that's not gone as well as you would have thought. You could have sort of had potentially 1 or 2 of those bench options come in for you, but that's sort of the case, and you just sort of got to move with it and hope for a couple of attacking returns there.
Okay then, so moving on into my midfield, Bukayo Saka is at first. He's actually one of the most sold players going into game week 4. Surprising because he's returned in every single game week so far this season. I think with him at the moment, it's just whether he has that haul ability that the likes of Palmer, Salah, these sort of guys really have. Like, that they can get those double-digit returns. Saka, I think it's a lot less likely for him to get double-digit returns, even in those easier fixtures. So, yeah, it's definitely a question to be posed. Obviously, the next 2 for Arsenal aren't the easiest, with Spurs away and City as well. So that's probably why managers are probably jumping off, and then you can move to the likes of Palmer pretty easily. But I don't think that Spurs away fixture is terrible. Again, Arsenal have gone there, got results, Saka's return. So yeah, I'm happy having him for that week. Bruno Fernandes up next, Southampton away. I have been thinking about wildcarding this week. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. One of the main reasons is just because the fixtures, especially for my attack, they are decent fixtures, and I'd be stupid to sort of wildcard out of them because a lot of them are probably arguably some of the best assets to get for this 1 game week in particular, if you're on a free hit, for example. And I think Bruno Fernandes does pose that case. He's been very unlucky not to get any return so far this season. Okay, Liverpool game was slightly... Well, he just didn't have any input really at all, but the opening 2, the expected goal involvement for him was off the charts, to be quite honest. So I'm expecting that to return against Southampton away. Southampton themselves have not looked good, been struggling playing out from the back. I think United's press overall in the opening 2 fixtures was decent as well, so maybe there could be an exploit there for the United attack. Diogo Jota's up next. He's been my Liverpool coverage, which he's not been covering at all. He's been missing some big chances at the moment. And yeah, obviously no one can really cover Mo Salah, but I think for his price, he's been decent, and I expect him to do much better in the home fixtures than maybe the away fixtures. And obviously 2 home fixtures up next for him with Forest and Bournemouth. Do quite like him as an option, and if I had wildcarded this week, there's a good chance that I probably would have kept him as well, given that his price had increased in my team. Morgan Rogers is the final midfielder. Everton at home this week. Again, lovely fixture for them. I know Everton did look good for 86 minutes against Bournemouth, but like they showed, they are literally minutes away from capitulation at any given time. So yeah, for me, it's a matter of time before Rogers gets a return. I think, he's looked decent on the eye. Okay, the attacking data's not really been there, but he has been setting up Ollie Watkins for some big chances, so it's just about time they get converted. What's the thoughts on the midfield, Ben?
Yeah, and a lot stronger midfield than defence. Obviously, with Rodgers, Everton is a really, really nice fixture and one to definitely target. So, yeah, well worth having him in for that. Jota is going to be a case of he's either going to be involved in absolutely everything or not too much at all, just based on how Liverpool set up, whether they sort of go through Jota for everything like they did in the first couple of game weeks, or whether they revert to what they did against United and sort of everything goes through the wings rather than through Jota. So we'll have to wait and see about that. I think it's very much dependent on opponent, etc. Bruno Fernandes is a really decent option, I think. Like, he's almost sort of been a bit under the radar because he has got that sort of attacking output still, but just has been a bit unlucky with returns, etc. So I do anticipate sort of a decent return from him. And with the Tottenham game, it's just so many unknowns with what's going to happen in a derby game like that. So I think, the potential for Porro or Saka to Hull is obviously there. It's just sort of a case of what team turns up for Arsenal on the day with no Declan Rice. It's going to be tough for them without him, but Saka, we've seen it in big games before. He can sort of produce the goods. So let's see if he can do that again.
Okay then, so moving on to the forward line, Ollie Watkins obviously came in for Isak last week. Isak outscored him as expected. I did expect Isak to do well last week, to be fair. And to be fair, the 5 or 4 points that he outscored him by, I weren't too concerned about. It's these next sort of few fixtures as to why I brought Watkins in, especially Everton at home, which I think is arguably one of the best fixtures in the league at the moment. It's just whether he can sort of get the minutes. He's obviously having this extended break in the international break. Hopefully he can sort of rehab this minor injury that he keeps sort of persisting with. But yeah, obviously missing loads of big chances so far this season, which is as expected with Watkins. He's not as clinical as maybe someone like an Isak or something like that. So yeah, just hoping he can obviously come on the score sheet, because Leicester game, he had the chances, he just didn't take them, unfortunately. Haaland, probably the only player who's been consistent really in the team. Yeah, good obviously captaincy option at the moment. I'd be captaining him over Salah this week anyway, even if I had Salah, so more than happy to have him at the moment. And then Muniz as well, again someone else who just loves missing big chances. I think he's had about 4 or 5 as well so far this season and has not managed to get any returns so far. West Ham at home, I don't think that's a bad fixture really. I think West Ham have been okay so far this season, but definitely some defensive frailties there to hopefully attack. And Muniz from set pieces has looked really dangerous. It's just whether he can convert those chances, which seems to be the case for a lot of players in this team at the moment. Ben, what's your thoughts on the forward line?
Yeah, obviously sort of a couple of issues there to address with Watkins potentially, but the fixtures look good enough to hold him for now. And Muniz, who seems to be missing every chance, and it's something that we saw a little bit last season as well. Like, he went on a run where he's scoring loads, but he had a high volume of chances to score from. So that's one that you just got to accept and say, look, we knew the risk with that. Let's sort of hope that he can get some returns going forwards. And then, like I said, I agree. I think Haaland's the best captaincy option this week, just because it's Haaland. He looks so good. He looks so sharp. So it's a no-brainer really for especially your team in terms of the captaincy option.
Yeah, 100%. And then on to the bench, Jacob Murphy. I've just taken the hit on him in terms of his price drops. Obviously, he got the assist in Gameweek 3 for Isak. Unselfishly, just put it across for him. So I don't think he's even a terrible option. I could easily see him starting against Wolves. To be quite honest, they have bought no right winger, so automatically it could be Murphy who plays there. Obviously, it makes Gordon a lot worse of an asset, him playing on the right, than it does Gordon playing on the left, in my opinion, as well. We face, again, Palace away. It's not the terrible fixture. I think Palace haven't been great going forwards necessarily, but won't be playing him this week. And then there's Lewis Hall as well, who could be my transfer out this week. I probably will make a transfer just because I think the wild card is pending. But it's a case of who do I want to start and who do I want to bring in, because for me personally, I'm not a massive fan of the Aston Villa defence despite the fixtures. I think just in general we've seen them under Emery concede lots of chances and concede a lot of goals. So who do I bring in for like a 1 week punt, a 2 week punt? I'm unsure at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. At the time of recording, we've got another 5 days till deadline. So a lot can change in that time, and I'll probably make my decision closer to the deadline.
Okay, so moving on into my team, and we also have David Raya in goal. Like I said, he's one of the top scoring goalkeepers in FPL so far. So he's done well. He's picked up some bonus points. He's outperformed Gabriel and Saliba in terms of total points output. So fairly happy to keep him even for the tough fixture run. In the defence, we've got a full defence of home fixtures, which is really nice to see. We've got Robinson at home to West Ham, for Fulham. We've got Konza with Everton at home and Gvardiol with Brentford at home. Liking all three of those options. Vic Gvardiol hopefully will have a bit more attacking output if Kyle Walker starts. We'll have to just wait and see with that. His attacking output flipped compared to Rico Lewis in game week 3. He had much more attacking threat and a better underlying attacking data than Lewis, despite Lewis inverting in the role that he usually does, which is really interesting to see. Konza, like Josh said, he's not too convinced by the Aston Villa defence, but against Everton, I'm a little bit more convinced. So I'm looking forward to that fixture. And of course, Robinson's been so attacking for Fulham so far this season. I think it's a must start for me. Josh, what are the thoughts on the defence there?
Yeah, I love Anthony Robertson. He's been a superb asset so far this season, just being really attacking, just being that winger almost in that Fulham system with Iwobi coming in off the left. So yeah, love him as an option at the moment. Obviously, Konsa I sort of mentioned when talking about my team. Even with that Everton fixture, they're bound to concede to someone like Decore or James Garner. It's just bound to happen. And then Gvardiol, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. You're going to have to be patient if you own Gvardiol, because it is a matter of time before he starts becoming more attacking. It's just maybe, starting with him was probably not the greatest decision in the world in hindsight. But obviously, yeah, if you've got him now, you're not going to be transferring him out when there's a potential for him to be playing that sort of left wing-back role that we've seen at the end of last season.
Okay, so moving on into midfield, and this is where I had a bit of a benching headache again this week. As you can see, Smith Rowe is on the bench for me at the moment, and it'll be a decision that goes down probably to the deadline on who I decide to pick for that fixture. At the moment, we've got Mo Salah in there as my vice captain. Nottingham Forest at home is a really good fixture, so more than happy to keep him there. Not captained this week, that will obviously go to Erling Haaland, as we sort of both have in our teams. Gordon Wolves away, I think the fixture Wolves away is a really good one in isolation, which is really tempting me to start him. So I think he's going to get the nod ahead of game week 4. Like Josh said, like his stats haven't been the best to start the season, but we know with Gordon he can switch that on at any time. And I'm hoping the international break sort of gives Newcastle a bit of time to regroup and sort of, get their patterns right and sort of get their style of play back to how it was at points last season. Garnacho is the problem at the moment in the team for me. Like he started in game week 3 against Liverpool and didn't do too much, albeit sort of out of the entire United attack that started, he was probably one of the better ones compared to sort of some of the other players in the team for United. So we'll have to just wait and see. I took the hit on a price fall on him, so he's at 6.4. But let's just wait and see. At the moment, he's starting because Southampton away is such a good fixture, but he could very well be benched for Smith Rowe, who's more sort of minute secure in terms of the minutes going forwards, especially in isolation of game week 4. And then Rodgers, who is definitely going to start against Everton at home because it is Everton. So, Josh, what are the thoughts on the midfield and the potential benching dilemma there?
So much Everton slander in this video. It's unreal. But yeah, I think overall, Salah, I obviously love him at the moment. He's been unbelievable, so sharp, just fantastic so far. Rodgers as well, an easy pick this week. For me, Anthony Gordon. I don't. Obviously, you have. Well, I'm not going to ruin it, but I am. You have Isak in your team. So playing the double attack for me. Wolves away is a good fixture, but I've just been so unimpressed with Newcastle so far. I've watched every single one of their games, and they just don't look at it. Even against Spurs, I thought they were lucky to come away with a win there. So for me, I'd be tempted to potentially start Smith Rowe over him. Although I did think that Smith Rowe, especially in that Ipswich game, did go a bit missing. So maybe if they deploy a similar sort of system with Ipswich in terms of having someone near him most of the time, that could be a problem going forwards. Garnacho is interesting. Obviously, he's away on international duty and obviously in South America, so you have that threat of potentially being benched due to him coming back a little bit later. Saying that though, Amad Diallo is also in international duty with Ivory Coast, so still a fair trek for him to come back as well. So yeah, for me, as a United fan, I couldn't even tell you who will start against Southampton, to be honest. I hope it's Amad Diallo, just because I think when he does start, Garnacho off the bench does provide probably just as much attacking threat as he does in a 60-minute, 70-minute period. So yeah, for me, I think no matter if he does start or not, you're still going to get a dangerous asset against, arguably one of the worst defensive teams in the league so far this season.
Okay, and moving on to the strikers, we've got João Pedro with Ipswich at home. Really happy to own him. He's been benched the last couple of weeks, and I've sort of been stung a little bit by it with the goals that he's got. But you know what? I'll take it on the chin because the rest of the team has performed quite well. Alexander Isak got a brace during the international break, which is fantastic to see. He just needs to sort of get those minutes and goals under his belt and get a bit of confidence back. Because I think as soon as he gets that confidence, he's just going to start banging in the goals for Newcastle. So happy and to keep him as well. And then Erling Haaland, obviously, as we spoke about, on the captaincy. In terms of benching headaches, of course, Smith Rowe's on there at the moment. That very well could change. I've got 2 free transfers to play with this, so I could make that move, sort of Garnacho out and sort of see who we can bring in. Maybe someone like a Minter or a Matoma, depending on if I'm going to downgrade elsewhere. Pedro Porro also on the bench for the second week in a row. A bit of a risk, yes, but I'm willing to take that this week and just see what happens. It worked out well last week, albeit a little bit lucky with not getting an attacking return from Porro. And then Howard Bellis, of course, sort of as the third bench option. Not seen any minutes in my team so far this season. So, Josh, what's the overall thoughts on the team there?
Yeah, I obviously love the Pedro pick. I think the main concern with him at the moment is obviously he's got called up to Brazil international duty. I think they play Wednesday morning our time, so the chances for him to come back for Friday's training session at the best. Basically, he'll be able to get one training session in. So that's what FPL Twitter was going crazy about when he got called up this week. So yeah, for me, I think it could be a risk, but I wouldn't be too scared about it. Players do this literally every single international break, so it's not out of the ordinary for him to come back and play on the Saturday. Isak for me, like you said, I don't think it's necessarily a confidence thing for him. I think it's just a case that Newcastle aren't creating enough chances. Obviously, the chance that he got against Spurs was easy. I think I could have probably scored that one. So yeah, more of the same for that for Isak owners, and I think he does become that asset that everyone presumed he was going to be in game week 1. Obviously, Haaland's the no-brainer there, and yeah, Smith Rowe. It's a difficult one. I think you've got it nailed on the head at the moment. I think it's between Gordon and him for me. If in terms of the rotation, I don't know if I would drop Garnacho, just given his attacking threat in those easier games that United have had. Obviously, the Liverpool game he did go missing, but that's due to be expected with that performance that United put on. Okay then, so that's our Game Week 4 team reveals at the moment. Let us know what you think of them in the comments, any dilemmas you have of your teams, and we'll be sure to reply to all of you.
Absolutely. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And as usual, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
next time. Have a good game week, everyone.
So you may rise, but you'll never make me wanna stick around you.